how do we bridge this gap between sales and procurement? So having spent so much time on the procurement side of the table, I just saw a ton of things that suppliers could do better. And I had good working relationships with many of my suppliers. So over the last couple of years, I've been helping suppliers actually deliver value, speak procurement's language, and get out of their own way. So they're not a nuisance that many of you experience day in and day out. Only 13% of customers believe that a salesperson can understand their business needs. So this is really important for procurement, and I'm sure you see it. But don't assume that they should know. Even if you send down an RFP, send down a competitive process, have a very detailed specification. Giving context, I think, is really important, and having that two-way conversation so you can build trust and they can truly come into your organization, deliver value, be innovative, and also let you know what your competition is doing, because many of the suppliers that we all work with are working with everyone else in the industry, and they can give you a lot of tips and best practices on what you can do to improve your business. Deloitte always does a pretty good job every couple years of a CPO survey, and I felt like these really resonated, and they speak to how we can't do what we do without our suppliers, right? It's a love-hate relationship, but the more love you can get and the more balance you can get, the better off everyone is. So, innovation kind of is there in the middle, the 72.9%. We can't achieve that innovation in procurement without our suppliers. Reducing costs, of course, that's always at the top, and it always has been. But that cost is really about that total cost optimization, again, which you all know very well. Even though procurement always has what are the savings, but when it comes to finance and our business partners, what's important to them is that quality, speed, value, and that equation. So it can't just be about reducing those costs. Digital transformation, that's been there for many, many years. And I think now with the push of AI, and machine learning, that's becoming even more important. And, how do we streamline processes? And again, our suppliers can help us, achieve all of these things. And then the risk management, that's always critical. How do we mitigate that? Coming out of COVID, how do we prevent, having any supply or service disruptions going forward? And then new products and services, again, having those conversations with those suppliers that you partner with and learning from them and, pushing the envelope with them. Like I mentioned before, leverage your account execs and your sales folks at your suppliers as a source of intel. Ask them open-ended questions on, how your competition is addressing a certain business challenge, what they have done recently, and they can give you a lot of insight. They're not going to tell you who it is, but really at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. But if it can help you to be more productive and more innovative, then leverage that. And sometimes these suppliers, they've been around your business for a very long time, and they can see what's happening better than even some of your stakeholders. So, leverage that. Let them tell you what they think needs to happen going forward. And, listen to them, ask them the tough questions and then hold them accountable to it. If, they think they can do it, and, you can do some risk sharing, there's different ways you can structure it. And, the KPIs and then the total cost optimization are very critical in delivering that innovation. And then, I think this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it never fails. There are always issues with proactively managing contract deliverables, the KPIs, and, just how do you automate that process? How do you make it repeatable so it's not an event? And then both sides are held accountable. And then again, this will set you apart from your competition. You can, get that free education from your suppliers and gain insights on how this is, always is a point of contention or, conversation. Procurement, what's important, to you. And we just saw it in the CPO priorities study from Deloitte, but it's always about price at some point. There's not unlimited budget. Procurement always wants, no or minimal commitments. We always push for longer payment terms, reduced lead times. We want volume discounts. We want increased rebates. We always want to see transparency on markups. We want to maximize the P&L position for our organization. And we can be slow to move and reach decisions. It's not always our fault, right? It can be collective, with the business that we're supporting, but it does exist. And then we want to maximize long-term value for the organization. So the business, so you think of this tripod, you've got sales, procurement, and the business. So for the business, they always, and you've seen this, right? How many times have they come to you? Hey, I want to use, X supplier. I met them at Y conference and my buddy down the street has used them for the last 10 years. They always think they have the best supplier in mind, or some new, shiny object, and they're going to solve all my issues. And, going to market, convincing them to do a competitive process, seeing how others can do it, that can be an uphill battle sometimes. But, I think that's how we deliver that competitive advantage, is learning from our suppliers, and you gain that intel through competitive processes. The business wants high quality. Sometimes they want quality at any cost. So, balancing those metrics and those KPIs, service level continuity, reduce lead times. They want it to be easy to do business. I think everyone wants it to be easy to do business with our suppliers. They want business continuity, and they just want their job to be easier at the end of the day, in most cases. And then sales. So again, about finding the common value, is they want to protect their price. They want long-term contracts. They of course want to maximize their margins. They want volume commitments. They want lower payment terms. They want extended lead times. So kind of the opposite of what we just talked about with procurement. And they want to limit volume discounts and rebates, and they want to move fast. I mean, they always, hey, if you sign by X date, we can do, 10% or whatever the case may be. So, navigating and understanding, as part of, you all are experts in negotiation, but knowing what the other side's priorities are is really key to having a successful negotiation and delivering that innovation and delivering the value for your organization.